The writer Virginia Woolf once said, "I can only note that the past is beautiful because one never realizes an emotion at the time. It expands later, and thus we don't have complete emotions about the present, only about the past." There are times now when I will smell in the air on a cool autumn evening the incense of burning elm leaves, and I will be transported back to the streets of Harvey, Illinois, where a ghost of myself wanders out of the western doors of the high school after a day of classes. And in the phantasm of my heart, I might also smell the residual dust from sparks and cinders tossed into the shadows of early evening from the smokestacks of the nearby factories to the east. Bliss and Laughlin Steel, Alice Chalmers, Merrimont Buffler, Harris Hub, Buddha, and Whiting. It's the smell of my father, who would come home every day with the smell of metal on his skin and strands of steel in his hair. I seemed to be at home wherever I went in Harvey with every breath. When I was in high school, it seemed that most of my family worked in those or other factories where hard work, dedicated cooperation, and loyal friends simply transitioned from the decks of World War II battleships and foreign frontline fields to the assembly lines of the growing giants of industry. I always thought as I grew into my early life that I would most likely take my place someday in one of those factories just across the Illinois Central tracks from Thornton's southeast doors. That's what I told Sarah Liffendahl, my teacher in the art department, when she asked me one day in the autumn of my senior year what my thoughts were for my future after high school. The biggest success I achieved in high school was that I had recently received 2 gold key awards from the Scholastic International for drawings and paintings that I had done in her classes. I also knew that she had been saving some of that art that had been left behind in the classroom turbulence that I felt caught in what seemed to be a creative hurricane. I couldn't stop, and I had no intention of where it was all headed, and I just knew that it was exciting and something in me was growing, and that making art was its main nutrient. She asked me if I ever considered going on to college and majoring in art. I remember that I had all kinds of fantasies decorating my dreams in those days. What I dreamed of and what I seriously considered about my future seemed to exist in their own separate dimensions. I wanted to grow, but I didn't know how or where it was best for that to happen. I knew the factories would always be there waiting, but my heart seemed uninterested. I thought taking Ken Berry's place in center field for the White Sox would have been really nice. But when Sarah Liffendahl suggested I fill out the application papers to enroll in classes at the Art Institute of Chicago, I began to see an opening in the line. And like Gail Sayers, I was off to the goalposts. A couple of weeks after graduation, my father died of a heart attack, and my mother was left with 5 kids and the tough job of keeping us all together and growing into the people that we needed to be. I had been looking for summer jobs in that early summer, and the one that seemed to emerge was answering my father's old job as a die setter at Merrimont Mufflers, left vacated by my dad, who had worked there for over 20 years. They gave me his locker, which was right between the lockers of my dad's best friends, and when they looked at me, I knew that what they were seeing was a younger version of my dad. Occasionally, they would even call me by my dad's nickname, Jigs, as it seemed to naturally slip out in conversation. My brother Joe enrolled in some classes at Thornton Junior College, the school that my uncle Nestor Roblicki had gone to a generation before, and with his talents in design, was commissioned to design the Thornton Junior College seal, which is still in use. My uncle Emil Roblicki took advantage of the GI Bill and had gone to Drake, Hope, and Notre Dame, and landed a job in Santa Monica as a coach and phys ed teacher. So I wasn't without heroes and role models that I could follow behind. When a letter came in the mail from the Art Institute of Chicago in early July, telling me that I was accepted into their undergraduate program with a full scholarship and included academics at the University of Chicago, I felt weightless. The air suddenly seemed to have extra molecules of oxygen in it and a clarity that magically opened up to a distance that I previously couldn't see. I seemed to be on a shoreline of a vast ocean, about to go on a great adventure of discovery. I had never been to the Art Institute of Chicago before my first classes there, and really had no idea of how much fun it instantly would become. I couldn't sleep because something inside me was turned on full blast, and I had no intention of looking for an off switch. A few months after entering the Art Institute of Chicago for the first time, one of my professors suggested that I submit one of my sculpture pieces to an upcoming international juried sculpture exhibit titled The Erotic Show, scheduled for exhibition in one of the main galleries of the Art Institute that spring. My piece, which involved over 300 boxes of strawberry jello, was accepted into that show. It would be the first of over 500 exhibits that I would eventually be part of, most eventually focusing on photographic work. After graduating with a Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree in 1972 and receiving the Fred J. Forrester Fellowship to take classes at the University of Krakow in Poland, Time Life Books contacted me for permission to use some of my photographs taken for a documentary I did on George Brown's bar in Harvey for their series of books on photography. It seemed that my life had become dense with opportunities. I applied to go to graduate school at the Art Institute of Chicago and was accepted as a teaching assistant, eventually teaching all the color photography classes in my final year there. While taking graduate classes, I was also working a number of various jobs. I was a night watchman at the Art Institute of Chicago. All through my years there, I worked as a medical photographer at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I was a bartender with my brother Joe at George Brown's bar, and I was a photo assistant at Playboy through graduate school. I continued to work on my photographic work after receiving my Master of Fine Arts degree in 1975 and had exhibits as I finished projects, one of which involved being an artist in residence at Syracuse University's Light Work Center for Photography. It was there that a one-time position teaching all levels of photography opened up at New York State University in Oswego, and they asked me to fill in for the year. I was inspired by that experience to explore more opportunities involving photographic programs within colleges of fine art. I eventually came to Vermillion and the University of South Dakota and decided to take a position teaching all of the photo classes at the College of Fine Arts. In 1998, I received the Burlington Northern Teaching Award, the Belbus Larson Faculty Award in 2004, the President's Award for Research Excellence in 2005, the Knudsen Distinguished Professor Award in 2010, and the Governor's Award for Outstanding Service in Education in 2021. I'm currently into my 44th year here, where I feel I continue to grow within the creative energy of the College of Fine Arts along the Missouri River in the heartland of the country. Bringing all of this back around to Thornton Township High School and the town of Harvey, Illinois, I need to add this perspective. Without my family and the amazing friends that I had in my younger days growing up in Harvey and at Thornton High, and without the outstanding teachers that I had the good luck of having at Thornton, I could not possibly have grown into the person that I have become. And so I will accept this honor of being part of the TTHS Hall of Fame on behalf of the collective community from which I have grown. They have all nurtured and inspired me to become who I needed to be.